Newsfirst, face to face.
Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. I'm Niresh. Tonight we are discussing a crucial subject for the nation, that is our healthcare system. To discuss this with me tonight is Dr. Rizvie Salih, who is a National Executive Council member of the National People's Power. Now, Dr. Salih has been practicing medicine in Sri Lanka for 36 years.
Yes, that's right.
So, Dr. Salih, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Niresh. Thank you for the invitation to be on to tonight's face-to-face. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And Dr. Salih, let's start off by talking about how far the healthcare system has fallen in the eyes of the public. Now, we've had a system for decades which was the envy of the developing world. We have excellent longevity. Our maternal mortality rate is excellent.
Yes.
Our infant mortality rate is excellent. And we have this amazing medical system nationwide, including the midwife system. So all told, it's an excellent system. But in the last few years, it has fallen down and the public trust has been eroded. What are your thoughts about this?
Right. Thank you, Niresh. Thank you for the question. Very pertinent question for the day and the times. Our healthcare system in Sri Lanka was actually a role model for many countries of this region. In fact, they attributed several things to this. They said that we have a good literacy rate, and that's why our healthcare system is good. On the other hand, it was the other way about also. They said our literacy rate is good because our healthcare system is good. Actually, this was an excellent system which many countries took as an example. But today, this has fallen into, or it's on the wane. This respect we had for the healthcare system is on the wane. Like Sri Lanka, for many reasons, many of our state services are deteriorating. Take it transport, take it education, take it even public administration. So all these services are on the wane. Our healthcare system was very excellent because we had free health services. And likewise, our education, our literacy rate was good because we had free education there.
But Dr. Rizvie, if I may interrupt.
Yes.
You have rightly pointed out that the healthcare system has fallen into the same kind of malaise that all of our other state systems seem to have fallen into, such as education, the financial systems, and so on. However, with healthcare, it's literally a life or death matter.
Yes.
So it's not something that we can allow to fall down. The government may go bankrupt, and it did go bankrupt, but the healthcare system is all about our lives and our children's lives and our parents' lives. So how do you see this?
I totally agree with you, Niresh. This falling down of this healthcare system, as you say, costs lives and health of the people. So we contemplate, we have a plan where we would do several things that could get this out of the rut that it has fallen into today. One of the things we could do is today government healthcare services are generally people who go to government healthcare services are those are the poor segment of the population. So here we would want to implement this where anybody who walks into a government healthcare facility, be it a hospital or a laboratory or a specialized center, should feel in their heart that they are coming there out of choice and not as an helpless alternative. For this, we would like to introduce and implement several things that makes the patient feels important.
What would those steps be?
Number one, we would train people to be guest relations, or what we call public relations officers there. There is so much of a certain category of people overstaffed in the hospitals. So we would get them trained to be sort of public relations for a meet and greet service. So when they walk in, they'll find out from them what brings them there. That gives a sense of sort of welcome there, and they give a sense of importance, sense of self-respect. Today, anybody walking there, they are ill, and they have thinking that I walk in here now, there nobody look after me. This is because we are poor that we have to come to these places. So no.
So you're talking about giving dignity.
Giving dignity to the patient just at the moment when they walk into this facility. So they will be met, they will be asked what brings them there, and if what exactly their problem is, they'll be directed to the correct counter or the clinic or the doctor who is concerned with the particular subject. Today, a lot of people just go there and they come back home and they're not gone and seen a doctor, or they're not gone to the correct person. So another thing we would do is we would also get people to talk to them and find out actually what they need before they go to the doctor. Number two, there will be so many things. We will like to have periodic health checkups for those we actually, it's in our manifesto, periodic health checkups for every citizen over 60 years of age, where we could detect non-communicable diseases like heart diseases, hypertension, diabetes, renal diseases before it sorts of shows signs and symptoms of the disease per se. So this is one way where we could do it. Also, we would like to improve the patient feedback mechanism, so much so that they feel that maybe some hospitals have this already, but we would like to intensify it. So where every feedback from a patient will be replied to, so they know that they have been heard. And if there is any positive improvement suggested, once it is suggested, we will implement it and also inform the patient who suggested this suggestion has been implemented. So they feel that health services are part of their effort, and they are a part of the whole program. So this could definitely bring in trust and confidence in the patients.
So you're talking about bringing about a new culture into the system,
exactly,
which on the face of it looks difficult, but of course we've seen it being done in many countries around the world in many different sectors. So from education to healthcare to everything else. So it is possible, but in Sri Lanka, in our healthcare system, do you foresee any stumbling blocks in doing so?
I think it is the intention of the hierarchy, the intention and the sincerity of the hierarchy that will percolate down to the people's lower ranks. When they know the intention of the people higher up there and people administrating there, and the political culture is such, everything will fall in its place. For example, we will also contemplating on, or at an OPD or a medical clinic or in the ward, we would like the name of the doctor in charge for that particular time to be displayed. And also, if it comes to a ward, now at the moment the wards have the consultant's name, but they don't have the medical officer's on duty name. That will also have to be distributed, change with each shift. So, because in the private sector, this is a requirement. It's
Absolutely.
A requirement.
Yes.
And also, I mean, we will take the good things from the private sector. Of course, we will not take the bill. Okay? This will be a different service. But we will take the good from there, like meet and greet services. Today, you walk into any private hospital. I mean, there are well-dressed, smart men and women who come running to you and find out what's happening to you. So we will also have a system like that. Maybe they won't come running to you. At least we'll have a counter where they could go and where they will be heard and guided to whatever is necessary.
Now, Doctor, one of the issues which I see personally with what you are trying to implement is that in Sri Lanka we don't have a lot of doctors per capita. Compared to, say, Western countries. And that's one of the reasons why a doctor might see 100 patients or more for a day, whereas his counterpart in Singapore might see only 15 or 20. and therefore would be able to spend more time with each patient, which would be good for diagnosis, for treatment, for the general welfare of the patients, in that the actual time spent means a lot. How do you see this, see a solution to this, really?
Yeah. Actually, with the recent brain drain of specialists and medical doctors,
which has got worse with the economic crisis.
Got worse and getting worse by the day.
Yes.
We need more doctors. Yes, I agree with you. For which we want to increase. We have a plan to increase the intake of A-level students who get through the A-levels. At the same time, improving on the infrastructure and at the already existing medical colleges to take up these increased numbers. Another way we would like to do it, we have plans to open 3 medical colleges, 3 additional medical colleges.
Where would those be?
Those will be attached to whatever universities that are not having any medical faculties attached to it now. And they would be trained in the nearest or in the district hospitals, which again the infrastructure needs to be improved. So with this we expect to increase the annual output of doctors to about 300,000. At the moment, it's about 1,500, and there are about 350 or so foreign graduates coming into the health system here every year. So this figure, we want to increase this figure up to now.
So the figure would go from 1,500 to 3,000?
3,000, yes.
I see.
So
and do you feel that would be sufficient?
We feel that would be certainly sufficient, also giving way for the little brain drain that will dwindle, we hope, with time, and also expecting a lot of the doctors employed once there is a stability existing here, and once the rule of law is there, and once they know that this country is on the right path, the corrupt political culture has come to an end, and here is a sincere band of people who would provide what everybody expects this country to take a turn to.
Now, you
fulfill your dream of studying in the UK.
Because when we take a loan or when any loan is being taken, we automatically go into evaluation point.
The sex absence of any knowledge with regard to sexual education. Now, those two are key pillars.
Transparent ways of showing how money is spent, we are doomed.
Even when the LTT was in operation, when there was actually a civil terrorism issue going on in the country, we didn't have these laws. Then the question is, why do we need these laws?
So this has brought down the total GDP by about 25% in dollar terms, which was around 90 billion. Now it's around hovering around 70 billion.
There are particular focus areas that I think evolve based on the binational commission.
So like the self-esteem is really, really low. Like they don't believe anymore, okay, I can do something about that. So anymore there's no any decision making about that, and very passive.
With regards to state land. So I think this will carry huge repercussions for the future.
Fulfill your dream of studying in the UK.
People shouldn't be afraid of their government. Instead, governments should be afraid of their people.
NPP has is by design, and it's not only in Sri Lanka, even across out of Sri Lanka as well.
I have to go to my cabinet minister secretary even to get a small thing passed.
That's a different question. The authorities are there. Why aren't you going in?
The integrity was compromised by the bribery commission.
The chairman of the party does not attend when you all sign a MOU with GLP and Nalagodeva, which is quite important.
Who was trying to safeguard the robbers of central bank.
We know
while
in Sri Lanka there are issues.
Inquiry was going on.
People wanted Gotabaya, right? People elected him.
But what we can see is that it has certainly stalled. There is no public record of what these cases were.
In particular, the things are very severe when President is also the Minister of Finance.
I will give you a post how it came about. It was not argued in the parliament. It was not even put on the cabinet. It was forced down the throat of the people of this country without an election.
fulfill your dream of studying in the UK?
You spoke of the corrupt culture, and yes, we've always known we have a corrupt political culture and corruption in many other sectors like the power and energy and so on. But generally speaking, the health sector, I wouldn't say it was squeaky clean, but it seemed a lot better than the other sectors. But over the last year or two, we have seen some of the most enormous scandals happening actually in the health sector. The human immunoglobulin scandal was just an eye-opener, where just vials of water were dispensed as a life-saving drug, and at an enormous price as well. So nearly ₹1 billion was just spent on these vials of water. And then we had several other drug scandals as well. One related to eye drops, which were contaminated and apparently caused blindness in, I think the number is something like 17 people. So these are terrible things to happen in a healthcare system. How did this come about? What brought this corruption so deeply into the healthcare system?
That's really, it's a pathetic, shameful thing that should ever happen anywhere. You mentioned the human immunoglobulin vaccine, which immunoglobulin injection, these are given to very sick people who are tested by nature. They are already sick. So they to be given this and cause them to die is unforgivable. And also you mentioned the eye drops. These eye drops are very, very simple steroid eye drops that was implicated in this. These steroid eye drops are instilled into patients undergoing cataract surgery every few hourly for about 3 to 4 days. So today cataract surgery per se has become a very simple it's a day surgery. So people who go for that don't expect to go blind at all. But here people who went, surgery was done, but what happened is they came back, instilled these eye drops that was contaminated, and many went blind. This is again, I'm telling you, a very heinous act that is not forgivable. It amounts almost blinding or murdering an individual. Very serious this is. We can talk of corruption in other fields, but that doesn't cost lives as such. It drives the country into bankruptcy. It makes your inflation go up. But then this is in fact murder and blinding of people due to the corruption. This is a thing that should never happen again. And whoever who has been found guilty needs to be brought before the law. I think that is happening. Another thing I would like to say is, you said drugs purchasers of drugs happens as a routine, as it had been always happening. There are 3 methods of purchase. One is where it is purchased according to the annual requirement that is expected for the next year. Then next is there is emergency purchases that is happening. Then the third methodology is VOR, where there is no registration required, where drugs could be purchased. These are in cases of epidemics or utter emergency. But again, there is a VOR committee. Waiver of registration is quite really, VOR stands for Waiver Registration Committee. But these processors have their own checks and balances. But
those seem to have failed.
Failed, yes. These have failed because the corruption comes from right on top. So any checks and balances will become redundant. It will be of absolute value when corruption begins from the top, as you may understand. This begins at the top and just percolates down there, and all systems that are there for checks and balances is of no use. So anywhere where we could go to rectify the situation must include stopping that at the top from interfering, and if it cannot be stopped, remove the top. so that a clean health system, of course, as you mentioned, minor things are there, maybe minor things that could happen, but they are also should be subjected to departmental inquiry. Action should be taken and they have to be penalized. Fines could be imposed. If there is any loss to the state, those can be recovered, so that when you are strict on top, the place others down the ladder will fall in place.
I understand what you're saying, Dr. Rizvie, because we Sri Lankans, as a culture, we follow our leaders. Unfortunately so. We don't believe that we are individuals who should stand up for what is right. Just a few people do that, but we follow our leaders. However, now this you can argue this for semi-educated people, but when it comes to, say, doctors who are educated and who can see for themselves what's right, what's wrong, they know it. And just because a minister or state minister or ministry secretary has gone down the wrong path, should the doctors turn a blind eye? Because shouldn't they take it upon themselves to correct this situation? If not out in public, there are many ways to do so, anonymously. Just send a message to Newsfirst. We'll take care of it. We will bring it, investigate it, and refer it to wherever. And there are, now there's social media, there's so many other aspects. But in the case of these scandals which we spoke about, that didn't happen. People died, people went blind, and the medical fraternity was found wanting. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it's a very good thing that you spoke about, as to how doctors and highly educated people who should be having a sense of responsibility in their hearts to the people down there, how they could just let it go. Actually, what has happened is this corruption has gone into the fabric of this society, irrespective of education level, irrespective of social standing, irrespective of many other norms which we think and assume that people would not be so. There has come to be a very corrupt ring, what we call it, a corrupt ring where the politician, the people in administration, some, not everybody, I mean some of them, and some of them law enforcing officers of different platforms or different areas, all into one bunch. They have no responsibility because they are used to this, they have been tempted to it, or they have been they have lost all their human feelings, what I could say.
Well, that's what's really troubling, not just to me but to most people, that a doctor is held in such high esteem in Sri Lanka. Doctors, teachers, clergy, and everybody seems to have fallen down, but doctors are the best and brightest of us all. When you think back to your class or grade back in school, the most intelligent of us went to medical school, and the others, of course, had to settle for something less. So one would expect people with such high IQ and knowledge to also have the self-esteem to stand up. It's one thing if you're somebody in a Pradeshya Sabha who's just managed to pass his or her O-levels and actually needs the job. Is afraid for his or her job and is not going to blow the whistle. But when it comes to a doctor who is obviously the best and brightest, but is now in cahoots with politicians who, let's call a spade a spade. Our politicians, most of them, many of them, have not passed their O-levels. So why consort with such, obvious criminal elements among the politicians? You get a lot of good politicians, that's a given. But when you know that your minister or state minister or whoever is corrupt, why consort with those people?
It's a very, very sad thing what you say, so much so that while you were talking, I felt a bit ashamed that I'm a doctor.
Well, there are most doctors that I know are very upstanding people. They are, I mean, if you ask most children, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a doctor. That's because they have the role models. So this is why it's so heartrending that doctors stood by and allowed this to happen.
Yeah, what I could say to this is this is actually not my party opinion, my personal opinion. My feeling is that these so-called, you say, doctors in that particular places has been placed there because they were prepared to give in to this, to work in cohesion with this and toe the line. So this is a dangerous trend once again, because what is in the eyes of the people, like you say, they think, wow, these are the cream of the society, the elite of the society, people whom we can rely on. But sad to say, they have picked those who will toe the line with them, so that they will be part of the what we call a corrupt ring.
Well, toeing the line is what has got this country into the mess that it is right now, whether it's financial or in any other way. And your party, the NPP, repeatedly says 76 years of mismanagement. But that is all about toeing the line to the politicians. So obviously you believe that your party would be different.
We want to make things different because this country has had enough. People dying of medicines that are meant to cure their illness, and people dying of eye drops that is supposed to, after surgery, that is supposed to give them vision, is pathetic, putrid and sinfully shameless. This is enough. The people has had enough. And our party is definitely, we are committed to bring about a change, a total change. It's not just changing one aspect, the finance, the healthcare, the education. No, this country needs a total revamp of actually a total socio-economic and a political transformation, where once this corruption came in, everything has fallen down because people no more have that, what you call, a heart. Everything has become very materialistic. Everything is trying to, not everybody, some of them, they are trying to make whatever fast buck that's possible and get away with it.
And
so this trend we will definitely change.
So you're definitely going to change it. Should your party win the next
we
election?
are different. Now, myself, I was never in this field, but I'm here because I see my patients, children, they come, and when I see them, some of them I have delivered, I wonder, what future does this place have? Aren't I responsible also as a member of the society to bring about a change? So that's why we are all committed to this.
And I'm afraid that's all the time we have tonight. My thanks to Dr. Rizvie Salih, National Executive Council member of the NPP. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Niresh, for having me on this show. Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching. Good night.